Hi Jake, it's Leslie. I just wanted to give you some quick feedback on your Project 4B assignment file. So I'm going to start with the information on the phone order worksheet. Here under the description you have the VLOOKUP formula, and I can see that the results look good here, but then we kind of run into some issues here. So what happened was when you're making a VLOOKUP formula, you want the reference to the table to include absolute references here, because what happens is when you copy the formula down, the reference to the table starts changing. So here we can see your reference is A4 to C11, and if we go over to the product information sheet, I can see A4 through C11, so that's correct. But if we look down at the next one, it's A5 through C12, and here where we're running into a little bit of difficulty, it says A6 to C13, and we're looking for the item that begins with B. So if we go over here and we do A6 to C13, you can see that your reference to the table is moving down. It's starting to move out outside of where there's no data down here, and you were looking for something that started with B, so it's outside of the reference that you had. So just to kind of give you an idea on that, so that's why these didn't work. This one worked even though it's A8 through C15. If we go back over here, A8 through C15, C15, it still catches that reference, but you can see pretty soon if we kept going down, we wouldn't even be in the data area. Okay, so basically when you do the VLOOKUP, you want to make sure that these have the reference to the table has the absolute, so that way when you copy it down, that reference will always stay the same. So you can either type those in, or I'm just going to use my F4 key here. I just clicked inside of the reference there, and F4 is just a shortcut to put the dollar signs in. Or certainly you can just type in the dollar sign, so it would be dollar sign before the row, dollar sign before the column in each one of these. So absolute is where you have dollar signs. Oops, didn't want to do that. Let me, so so what happened was before I completed the information in here, I clicked outside of it, and Excel thinks I'm trying to select another cell, so sorry about that. So now I have everything complete. I have the absolute reference here. I'll press enter so Excel knows I'm done with that. Now if I go back up here, I'll use my fill handle to copy back down, and you can see everything looks pretty good. And as I click down into each cell, I can see that the reference to the table is still intact even though we're going down here. So you did have everything correct over here for the unit price. It was just over here in the description area that you needed to include those absolute references to the table information. Okay, next on the list is if I go over to the revenue table. You have the right idea here. You just kind of moved things over a little to the right. So this 61,979, if I click in here, I look at the formula and it says B9 through B17, or I'm sorry, B9 minus B17. So here's B9. And then here's B17, but this information should be actually right here because that would be the January information, okay? And then the February information is actually this, which is the C9 through C17. So I think maybe because we were doing kind of a step over here on the percent increase, maybe that's why you felt like you had to move things over. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all of the information here, and when I get that four-headed arrow, that means I can move something. So I'm just going to scoot that back over to the left. Okay, so now the 61,979 is the January information, the revenue minus the expense, and here is the February information. So we actually still need a total here, so I would just go ahead and click over here, use that fill handle to come across. So now that makes sense too, because now we have the total revenue is 704,000 minus the total expenses, so that's what we have left over. Now Same thing with this one. Actually, here I'm going to just delete that particular formula, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm moving this over. So now this minus 34 represents the percent change between these two, and that makes sense, right? Because this one is 61, sorry, and this is 46, so there was a decrease. Now this percentage is actually an increase because now we're looking at the 46,000, whoops, the 46,000 versus, and you're hopping up to the 60,000. So now we do have a 23% increase from February to March. And so we need more the other percentages here too as well. So I'm just going to use the fill handle to complete that. Okay, so there wasn't anything there. Since we're just starting with January, we wouldn't have a formula here because there's nothing to compare it to. So that's why we start the formula over here in February, because now what we're doing is we're comparing January to February and finding the percent difference. Same thing here. We're comparing February to March and finding the difference. Okay, so you had the right formulas, they just weren't in the right places. So if you make those changes, we want to make sure that you start over here with the January revenue, fill all of those in, and then you would move your percentages back over and delete that first one that you had. Then everything looks like it's all correct here. So I hope this has been helpful, and if you would like to make corrections to your file, please do so, and you can make corrections anytime until the end of the semester. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks so much.